Right now, on the entire planet, there is only one type of human left, just us. But for most of human history, that wasn't true at all. There were multiple different human species living at the same time, sometimes even in the same regions, sometimes even interacting with each other directly. So what happened to all of them? And why are we the only ones who survived? The answer involves competition, climate, interbreeding, and a series of small advantages that added up over an enormous stretch of time. This isn't some ancient legend or a fringe theory either. It's one of the most well-documented facts in human evolutionary science, confirmed repeatedly through fossils, archaeological sites, and increasingly detailed genetic analysis over the past few decades. Let's start with just how crowded the ancient world actually was. At various points, Earth was home to Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo erectus, Homo floresiensis, and several other human species, all existing at the same time as early modern humans. This wasn't a single lonely species slowly evolving in isolation. It was multiple closely related human species, sometimes overlapping in the same forests and valleys. Neanderthals, probably the most well-known of these other species, were incredibly well adapted to cold European environments. They were physically powerful, had larger brains on average than modern humans, and successfully survived harsh Ice Age conditions for hundreds of thousands of years before eventually disappearing. Denisovans, a more mysterious group known mostly through DNA evidence and a handful of fossil fragments, lived across parts of Asia and left genetic traces still present in some modern populations today, particularly in parts of Oceania. Homo floresiensis, sometimes nicknamed the Hobbit due to its unusually small size, lived on a remote Indonesian island, isolated long enough to evolve into a distinctly smaller form of human, completely separate from mainland populations. And these weren't the only ones. Homo erectus, an even older human species, survived for an astonishingly long stretch of time, possibly close to 2 million years, spreading across huge portions of Asia and Africa long before modern humans even existed. So why did modern humans end up being the only ones left standing? One major factor appears to be adaptability. Modern humans developed an unusually flexible approach to survival compared to other human species. Rather than specializing heavily in one specific environment or hunting strategy, modern humans could adjust their tools, clothing, shelter, and diet based on whatever environment they found themselves in. This flexibility became especially important as the climate began shifting dramatically. Ice ages ended, environments transformed, and species that had become highly specialized to one specific ecosystem often struggled significantly when that ecosystem changed faster than their bodies or behaviors could adapt. Modern humans also appear to have had more complex social structures and communication abilities. Larger, more interconnected social networks likely allowed knowledge, tools, and survival techniques to spread more efficiently between different groups, rather than each small, isolated group having to independently rediscover the same solutions repeatedly. This social advantage compounds over time in powerful ways. A group that can share innovations across a wide network adapts to new challenges far faster than isolated groups working alone, even if individual members aren't necessarily smarter or stronger than their counterparts in other species. Competition for resources also likely played a significant role. As modern humans expanded into new territories, they began competing directly with other human species for the same food sources, hunting grounds, and shelter locations. Unlike competing with a different type of animal entirely, competing with another intelligent, tool-using human species meant facing rivals capable of matching many of the same strategies. This kind of competition between similarly intelligent species is genuinely rare in the history of life on Earth. Most competitive relationships in nature involve clear differences in intelligence or capability, but here, both sides were planning, adapting, and problem-solving in remarkably similar ways, making the outcome far less predictable and far far more closely contested than a typical predator-prey or dominant species relationship. There's also compelling evidence that modern humans and other human species didn't simply replace each other through pure competition, they interbred. Genetic studies have revealed that most people today with non-African ancestry carry small percentages of Neanderthal DNA, sometimes around 1 to 2% of their entire genome. This means Neanderthals didn't purely vanish. In a sense, they were partially absorbed into the modern human population through interbreeding, leaving behind a genetic legacy that quietly persists in millions of people today, thousands of generations later. Some of this inherited Neanderthal DNA even appears to have practical effects still relevant today, with certain genetic variants linked to immune system function, skin and hair traits, and even how some people's bodies respond to specific environmental conditions. This complicates the simple narrative of modern humans simply outcompeting and replacing other species. In many cases, the boundary between species may have been far blurrier than most people imagine, with genuine mixing, cooperation, and conflict all happening simultaneously across different regions and time periods. Disease may have also played an underappreciated role. As different human populations came into closer contact with each other, they likely exposed one another to pathogens their immune systems had never previously encountered, potentially causing devastating, invisible impacts on population numbers that left no obvious trace in the archaeological record. Some researchers also point to differences in population size and reproductive rates. Even small, consistent advantages in birth rates or child survival rates compounded across many thousands of years could eventually result in one population vastly outnumbering another, even without any direct conflict ever occurring between them. It's important to understand that these different factors likely didn't work in isolation. Climate change may have weakened certain populations at the exact same time modern humans were expanding into their territory, while disease, competition, and interbreeding all happen simultaneously in different regions, creating a complex, overlapping collapse rather than one single decisive cause. What's particularly striking is how recent, in evolutionary terms, this transition actually was. Neanderthals and modern humans coexisted for tens of thousands of years before Neanderthals eventually disappeared, meaning there wasn't necessarily one dramatic, sudden extinction event, but rather a slow, gradual decline playing out across an enormous span of time. This raises a genuinely humbling thought. For the vast majority of our species' existence, being human didn't mean being alone in the world. It meant sharing the planet with other intelligent, tool-using, socially complex human species, some of whom were our direct evolutionary cousins, and some of whom we may have literally had children with. Today, when you look around and see only one type of human everywhere on Earth, you're actually looking at something historically unusual, not the natural, permanent state of things, but the temporary result of a complex, messy, thousands of years long process that could have easily turned out differently. It's worth sitting with that thought for a moment. If a handful of variables had shifted slightly, different climate patterns, different disease exposure, different population sizes, we might not be the only human species standing here today at all. There might still be multiple different kinds of humans sharing this planet, each with their own distinct history, culture, and way of surviving. If you find this hidden history of other human species as fascinating as we do, let us know in the comments which extinct human species surprised you the most. And if you want more deep dives into the strange, forgotten story of human evolution, hit subscribe for more, because the history of our species is far stranger, messier, and more crowded than most people ever learn in school.